My name is Jessica Long, the Vice President of Human Resources. I'd like to thank you all for attending today's presentation on the Fair Labor Standards Act. During today's presentation, we'll be going over the following information. What the workforce was like before the FLSA was established. What is the Fair Labor Standards Act? Minimum wage requirements, overtime pay regulations, our responsibilities as an employer, the employee's rights, penalties, and what is expected of you as a manager. Before the Fair Labor Standards Act was established, work conditions were poor and employees had very few rights. The workers were forced to endure potentially dangerous or deadly work environments. Young children, some as young as 5 years old, were working in mines, factories, and mills up to 12 to 18 hours a day. Workers were paid as little as possible, and most were paid less than $1. Workers faced harsh conditions that were worsened by the long hours with no additional pay. Many worked at least 12 hours a day for 6 to 7 days a week. The Fair Labor Standards Act, otherwise referred to as FLSA, originated as part of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal signed in 1938. This established standards for minimum wage, overtime pay, child labor, and record keeping. These regulations are administered by the Wage and Hour Division, WHD. One very important part of this act is the federal minimum wage rate that was established with the FLSA. The Fair Labor Standards Act established the federal minimum wage rate, which is the lowest hourly wage that can be paid to covered employees for their labor. This rate applies to all 50 states. The FLSA requires employers to pay employees a minimum of $7.25. There are a few exceptions for this rule. Employees under the age of 20 may be paid a minimum wage of $4.25 for the first 90 consecutive calendar days of employment, and tipped employees must be paid a minimum of $2.13 if they claim their tips as wages. Overtime is the additional time an employee works that is typically longer than their normal 40-hour work week. Under the FLSA, employers have to pay covered employees no less than 1.5 times their regular rate of pay for all hours worked in excess of 40 in a work week. There is no limit to the number of hours in a day or the number of days in a week that an employee can work, but they must be compensated for that additional time. This regulation also does not limit overtime that can be scheduled. Well, there are certain responsibilities that employers like ourselves must follow. We have to make sure that minimum wage requirements are followed and employees are paid at or above minimum wage. Posters must be placed throughout the facility in obvious locations for employees to have available. There is no size requirement, but the poster must be legible. Also, a specific poster must be displayed for employees with disabilities, which is the Employee Rights for Workers with Disabilities Special Minimum Wage poster. If an employee feels as though they have not been provided the proper pay or overtime, they can file a complaint by contacting a local wage and division office. They can also file a private lawsuit, generally for the previous 2 years of back pay, and an equal amount as liquidated damages, plus attorney's fees and court costs. It is important to note that it is a violation of the Act to fire or in any other manner discriminate against an employee for filing a complaint with the employer or the Wage and Hour Division. If we have been found non-compliant with FLSA regulations, the Department of Labor has a set of penalties in place. First, the Wage and Hour Division investigators would recommend changes in our practices to bring us into compliance. They may request the payment of any back wages due to employees, and there could also be a fine of up to $10,000, and any additional violations may result in imprisonment. To make sure that the regulations are being followed, there are ways for yourselves as managers to help. You can help ensure that all applicable posters have been put up in visible areas around the building. Make sure you explain to employees their rights. You can also verify each employee is being paid properly and check time cards and payroll to verify if overtime is being used and reported correctly. The Fair Labor and Standards Act of 1938 was designed to help the workforce and make sure that the safety and well-being of our employees was coming first and that each person was being properly compensated for their work. It was a huge step for the labor force in the United States, and is our responsibility as an employer to ensure that we're continuing to follow the regulations put in place to help keep our environment safe and happy. I'd like to thank everyone for the time today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact our HR office. You can also contact the Wage and Hour Division by phone, and you can also visit their website for more information. Thanks again, and have a great day.